Otto, your story, your style.
All right. Otto, your story, your style, and another episode, another wonderful story that we have to speak, explore, discuss, and understand. Let's reserve our guest. Let's reserve a table. Every story has a hero. Some superheroes don't need capes, but some superheroes wear a mask. That's where the bigger story is. Whether it was a sale of 10 million maybe a decade back, or whether just a few months back as well, a sale of $200 million. Now that's something we'd like to explore. But the man is extremely rich. Rich in values, rich in ideas, and a very, very rich story. With me, of course, is the founder of Dineout and Ayushpay, Vivek Kapoor. Vanakkam and welcome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm totally flabbergasted with the kind of welcome I got.
Do you mean the airport pickup or the introduction?
No introduction here. Airport pickup was very, very warm.
You know what? I must say something today, courtesy Otto. You're looking very, very good.
I'm carrying that confidence as well because of Otto.
Vivek, I want to ask you the first question. Normally, a question in a conversation is, how are you? That's a very normal question to ask. When I have someone like you, I'm forced to ask,
Who are you?
Who are you? Why the silence? When today's world, people want the headlines, want the archive, want to be the hero of the story, you say, I don't want to be a hero, but I want to know, what's your story? Who is Vivek?
See, the thing is that I've been born and brought up in a very, very middle class kind of a setting. My father's been a serviceman. He was a CA. He's a CA. My mother's a homemaker. We've been, sort of brought up with those absolutely middle class values towards life, towards money, towards success. And the most important value is humility. Right? You put your head down, you keep working, and your work will do the talking. You don't have to talk about yourself. And because it's so ingrained, this value is so ingrained in the DNA, that whenever a setting like this happens, I almost, sort of feel shy talking about myself, because they always say apne bare mein zyada baat nahi karni chahiye. Your work should do the talking, and I'm not saying that the other part is wrong. If people who are sort of doing it, who are flamboyant across social media handles and who want to sort of talk about their work, it's absolutely fine. It's just,
is that the reason you're not active on an Instagram or on social media?
No, I try to be active. I'm partially active, obviously, because of the work that you do, because of the awareness that you need to sort of keep and be around with the trends. You can't just sort of shut down all channels. You need to be aware. But yeah, I'm a very, very shy poster. I again would want to sort of listen to stories, then talk about myself.
Yeah, but today it's your story, your style. So we'll go with the question, who is Vivek? Who are you actually, and how did you get into this big deal of entrepreneurship? People didn't even know the word startup when you actually did all of this, yeah?
So I come from a family of sailors, right? Even though my father is a CA, but my elder brother, my cousins, my uncles have been, sort of sailors. And so I went there in the Merchant Navy. My parents were always reluctant because I was the younger son in the house. I'm very shielded, very, sort of soft in terms of dealing with the others. I never had those, sort of hardship during my growing up years. So they were very, very skeptical about the fact that I'll be able to manage myself in the Merchant Navy. And we were like 17 when you're thrown on the ship. I'd never even taken a domestic flight, let alone an international flight, right? I joined my first ship in Mexico. I had to first locate the city on the atlas. Where was it when my ticket came? And my ship is in Mexico City. Some Lazaro Cardenas was the name of the port. And everybody, how will you reach there? They were very skeptical about how will I be able to manage, but I went there and had a good time. Very hard time, but it was very satisfying. At a young age of 18, you're sort of expected to work, which has never happened in your life in all those years that you've lived. Your productivity is expected out of you. I felt important, one, definitely. I obviously did a lot of goof ups in terms of on the ship, on my journey of learning. And how the entrepreneur, second part of your question, I have a very thick friend circle, right? And whenever we used to come back from ship, like the boy talk, right? ये करते हैं, वो करते हैं, ये अच्छा करेगा, वो अच्छा. It was absolutely like that. I had no bone in my body of an entrepreneur, right? Not even one single bone. When we used to come back, we used to discuss things, we used to discuss plans, we used to party a lot, we used to go out to the restaurants a lot. And the fact was that we all were doing decently good in our profession, so we had the money also when we used to come back. So we had time to spend and we had the money. My friends, they came back, they started playing with the idea, and when I signed off in 2011 November, I still remember, they said that we are doing this, why don't you join us? You are here on holidays, right? Tu aaja hamare saath thoda kaam kar le. So that's how it started. Obviously the problem also sort of aroused us because of the fact that when I was sailing, when they were in US or UK, we did face these problems where, there were apps where you could discover restaurants, you could discover deals, etc. And none of this sort of existed in India. So it immediately resonated with us.
Do you think working before an entrepreneurial venture outside exposure is necessary? Exposure and experience is necessary before entrepreneurship, or do what you think is right? That's entrepreneurship.
See, entrepreneurship is obviously breaking the shackles and breaking the molds, right? So if I create a mold that you have to work in a company before starting your entrepreneurial journey, is creating another shackle. So I would not want to, sort of create a rule on that. We've seen entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, building products, and they are on virgin territories. But to create some and learn value towards work, develop a sense of sincerity in yourself. I feel you should have some experience of working in a great team, doing the monotonous, doing the boring, doing the laborious work without any ego hassles, so that when you become an entrepreneur, no work comes across as small work for you, right? I cleaned toilets on the ship, I painted and I chipped, and I was sort of very good at it, right? Everything of that perspective.
And someone told me that when Dineout started, there was this man, Vivek, answering the calls of clients, connecting them. So you did it from ground zero.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about your entire journey. But before that, pick one of these.
I'll pick the middle finger.
Oh, now you're completely... Okay, I'll tell you why. You have to answer the honest answer in a yes or no. Dineout was sold to Swiggy in 2023 for $200 million. You and your team remain zipped about this. It's not wrong. It's not an unfair deal. It's a deal that is open in the market. Why the secret and what's the number?
I would choose not to deny.
Choose the other finger. Because this really was...
Or to acknowledge or to accept that figure. Because I don't also, I'm going a little philosophical here.
Sure.
I don't want sort of heroes to come out of the fact that how much money they're building or making, right? What one should see is how the product has evolved over 10 years. What are the roadblocks that we faced to reach that level of exit that you're, sort of celebrating today. I don't want young entrepreneurs to, sort of look at this today and go for entrepreneurship keeping this goal in mind.
Never mix your personal life with your professional life. You will lose both, is what they say. This man, I believe, was ready to lose both. You didn't care for your friends. It looks like your friends didn't care for you, because Dineout, Vivek, was an idea that was strictly between four friends, started, grew, developed between these four friends, working with friends. How important is it to know the person and sometimes disconnect from the person?
We four know each other since we were 4 years old. We've gone to the same bus, we've sat on the same benches, same school, parents, teachers meeting, everything, birthday parties, etc. While we were working together, we were having our fights, but the most important thing was that I don't know how, with God's grace, we developed that sense of awareness about each other's abilities, sort of the strengths and weaknesses, and we could channelize those strengths and weaknesses towards sort of each segment of work that we were doing. We allowed each other to fail, we allowed each other to learn from that, and not embarrass each other upon failures, right? We knew that none of us would go behind the back or do something which will sort of
let down the other one
in terms of trust was there. Until today, even after when we sort of drifted apart after Dineout, whatever the other person is doing, we are invested together in each other's startups, in each other's ventures.
Today, for a startup to succeed, there are more that fail than succeed. There are many more that sink than survive. What is required for a startup to be successful? What should be the mindset? Is your idea to be explosive? Is your market to be different? Is your method to be innovative? What's required?
I think the most important part is that usually entrepreneurs get clouded with the vision that they're, sort of following, which is fine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be headstrong about what you're, sort of following, but you should always have your ears to the ground, right? Listen to the customers. If you're trying to solve a problem in the entire ecosystem, 2 or more parties should be happy with your services. You shouldn't be a burden in any of the, sort of when you're selling your product. It shouldn't be a very, very uptight sort of a climb to sell your product, right? Obviously, you build your product, you keep on evolving your product, etc. But the user should tell you that I love your product, even if you're not making money initially. And that is a very important sign. Or if he's saying, Ki, I will love the product if you do this and this. And if you don't do it, then you're not listening to the customer.
There's always, they say, before the working, check your Excel sheet. There's a checklist to do. Now, if I have an idea and I want to know whether it succeeds or not, what should be my checklist?
Do not measure your success with the investment, right? Investment is a validation of what you've done. Uske baad to journey shuru hoti hai. And then you have an added responsibility of ensuring that you give a good exit to your investors also. That's a moral responsibility, right? It's not that you've not won till the time you've not given an exit to the person who invested in you. Getting investment is not a measure of success, right? Second is that you should be the best salesperson in the office. The best, right? You have to sell your idea, you have to sell your product, you have to sell your vision, and not just to the end user, but to the investor, to the employees as well, because they look up to you. They'll join your team only because when they see the bigger picture through your eyes. So the biggest checklist point is that you have to be the best salesperson in your office. And you can't say that I'm the CEO or I'm the co-founder, so I don't need to sell. No, boss. We used to have challenge in Dineout. Whenever I used to visit a city, I used to, sort of give my challenge to the sales team, where a restaurant which you are not able to onboard, I'll go and onboard.
What about Dineout remains close to you? What do you believe are those few moments that made Dineout stand out?
It's very easy for me to, sort of take the credit and hog the limelight about the idea, about everything. But it'll be stupid and naive of me to do that. But the only thing that I would definitely, sort of take some credit on, the fact that we created a team of superstars. And the vibe in the office was such a great, positive, constructive vibe that it wasn't just we four as friends. The leaders within the leadership team also were very good friends with each other. We used to have lunches, dinners together. Dine-out parties used to be like, sort of killer ones. I can't help but, sort of keep on reminiscing those times, those days in the office where we used to hog each other's tiffins. And I think that is truly commendable, because today in my next entrepreneurial journey, I just have to, sort of ask that, will you work with me? And most of them, taking pay cuts, taking, sort of salary cuts, are willing to come back and work with us. That is something that was truly special of the journey.
How were you earning money?
Oh, we were earning money 50 rupees per diner. I can be open about it, right? Whoever we seated, we used to charge 50 rupees. And there was a whole lot of challenge in that.
No matter which restaurant it was, no matter how big or
average
small.
It was some 35, some 50, some 65, and it kept on evolving, right? The when we started, we thought that we'll charge 50 rupees per seated diner, and so we used to send 200 or 100. The other person used to say only 10 came. We used to then haggle, fight. We used to show records. That, sort of, then we used to make calls to diners. All of that. I have a folder, and not just me. My other co-founders also have a folder in their phone saying "Dine Out User," and they used to call directly to reserve tables. In 2016, you could pay your bill through the app. This was technically before Paytm also did it, right? Or maybe almost along the same time, where a user could settle his bills through the app at the restaurant. That gave us wings, actually.
You were way ahead of the times, if I can say that very honestly. Did you start? You cannot plan so much. Really, when you start in 2012, you can't say this is going to be my journey. But did you start wanting to exit in a couple of years, saying, idea to acha hai, we'll get money and let's move to the next big dream of ours? Or did you start this to say, this is where I want to put my sweat, blood and years into? What was the motto?
I was wanting to work with my friends, and I thought that, after 10 years of sailing, this would be like a good change. Let me try. I can always go back to sailing. And that was my motive. And the fact was, I was so naive that I didn't even know that what all could go wrong, right? But I was very hardworking, and I had no qualms about taking calls or even chasing a restaurant for that 1,000 rupees bill. I had no qualms. I could work like a dog, right? And while cutting costs also. I mean, I remember my staff into initial days used to make fun of me that Vivek ji will give only Parle ji to us, right? He will not even call for cookies in the office. With chai, he will not even get tiger biscuits, he will get Parle ji.
In 2014, when you were first given this offer that let's buy you out, that was thrown at you.
So I'll rewind a bit.
Yeah, sure.
Because everyone should know this.
Yeah.
Our first seed investment came from a user. He used our services and he reached out to us and he said that I want to meet you boys. And he ended up investing 60 lakhs. He was our first, Dineout was his first investment also. Mr. Ankush Nijhawan, travel boutique online, I'll have to name him.
Does it hurt you? Give me an honest answer, because there's an emotion behind what you have done. I can see it in your eyes that you're emotionally connected to Dineout. Even today you are. Does it prick you that today what you think, what you say, what you feel doesn't matter, doesn't affect this Dineout? Do you regret? Do you feel bad? You're disconnected?
You don't feel bad by giving wings to your child, right? Because you know it'll fly. So technically, it's that profound for me. I feel the merger, the acquisition, the marriage of the product with Swiggy is a great thing for the end user, and is a perfect value add for the product itself, because it comes into the universe of if we were operating with X number of users, that Dineout is now exposed to 1,000,000x, right? So I can't be selfish about the fact that I would hold on to him, keep him, keep my child with me and not let it fly. I feel it's the same feeling, right? Once I have a 5-year-old, after when he turns 18, if he wants to go out, no matter how badly I would want him to stay with me,
for his best interest,
but for his best interest, you have to let him go.
Well, of course, my friends, when we talk about passion, if passion doesn't give you the payments, then slowly that passion turns out to be poison. Money is an extremely core factor, and ask a rich man, a successful man, how important is money? He'll say it's a part of the process. Ask someone who needs that next payment, that next bill to be footed, and he'll tell you how precious that credit could be. You've chosen to head Ayushpay. What is Ayushpay, and why do you think that's your calling?
Dineout was always a good to have product. I wanted to be part of a must have in India, and every Indian, middle class, lower middle class Indian, has faced a financial scare when dealing with a health issue. I've dealt with, I'm sure there would be others in the room, etc., who've dealt with it as well, where you're just sort of, they say that Indian middle class is sort of one surgery or one illness away from going into below poverty line, right? So probably somewhere down the line that was playing in the back of the mind, and I wanted to be part of this problem and sort of try to build a solution around it. What we're trying to do with Ayushpay is that trying to improve the financial affordability or accessibility of healthcare, of treatments for people who don't have any other health cover, right? India is highly underinsured. The government is, sort of covering a very small segment under their schemes. A person who's between a 3 lakh to 4 lakh household income to maybe 12 lakh household income does not fall under any healthcare security plan. They pay out of pocket for every healthcare need, right? And they don't get coverage from insurance because they don't buy insurance. They don't find value in insurance. India, as I said, there is about 80 to 90 crore of Indians who do not have insurance, right? And they pay out of pocket. And these people do not get loans from banks, from the structured organized banks. They go to NBFCs, they take unsecured loans, and they take it at an interest rate of almost about 40 to 50%. Now tell me, a right to live cannot be charged at a premium of 40-50%, right? If this was my problem, and I may not be successful or may not be able to sort of execute it the way I'm looking at it, but I will definitely try. And this is my endeavor in terms of solving this problem, of ensuring that people who have illnesses, they have a shot at life without getting thrown under poverty line because of healthcare affordability.
I love the reason. I completely stand with you emotionally on this reason, factually on this reason. But I'm talking to an entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur is no fool. An entrepreneur is not naive. So Mr. Vivek Kapoor, in this idea of catering to the ill, catering to the mass, catering to the common man who is at middle class and below poverty line, how do you make lower middle class and below poverty line, just around there? How is Mr. Vivek Kapoor making his money from this?
No scalable product can be built out of philanthropy, right? There has to be a revenue model. There has to be a sustainable revenue model, because you need to give salaries, you need to do marketing, you need to do user acquisitions. Nothing can be done for free, right? Nothing can be done on a piece of donation or sort of at a mercy of someone's fund or trust or something. So we're trying to build a model where the entire process becomes financially viable to run, to scale, etc. And money, because of the huge numbers that you've quoted in the previous, is not like the only motivation for me, but it is a motivation for the others in the team, right? Unlike me, they are on their first entrepreneurial journey, right? So they are definitely sort of in that along with me, to build a product which is revenue oriented, revenue generating, but at the same time solving a very big problem for India, right? And I see no qualms in also having a money minded approach towards this, right?
If I can ask you one more question, is Mr. Vivek looking to make some good numbers out of this and then exit in the next 2 years and move on to the next problem solving? Or is he here to build, stay, and making sure that this problem is solved?
So at Dineout also, we did not start to sell. We didn't start with that motive at all, right? We were trying to build the product which helped our users. We were listening to our customers' problem. That's why from 50 rupees per diner, we went on to Dineout Pay, and then we went on to other. We acquired 4 companies along the way. This is also, sort of on the same ethos and the same lines. But I will not say no to a good deal as well, right? I will not say no to a good deal. But I think it's too early for that to sort of come in right now. We have to. We are sort of taking baby steps at Ayushpay right now. We're trying to build a model where we have passionate backers who sort of believed in us. I have to sort of ensure that their interest, which is definitely monetary interest, are protected. But you have to be true to the value of the idea as well. And my idea is definitely, because मैंने ये problem face करी है, लोगों ने problem face करी है, तो इसको solve करने का कोई तरीका ढूंढते हैं.
And what are your life lessons or entrepreneurial lessons? Like, if you were to tell a good friend that this is what I've learned from life, my friend, this is what business has taught me, what would be those 3 or 4 tips you'd say? I faced it, I learned it, I'm giving this to you completely free. The only thing Vivek will give free is this tip. Delhi boy.
I think through the interview, I've given a couple
a lot of wisdom.
So I would say having zero ego is very important. That comes from a space where you should know how to take rejection. You should know how to sort of, and be getting rejected for something that you're very passionate about, that completely breaks your heart. Get up and sort of go out to another meeting with the same passion, and getting rejected again. So the second part is being the best salesperson. I think that is the most. These two are things which I feel that they are most important.
Yeah. And is there any?
And one last.
Sure.
Be aware of your shortcomings. Because if you're aware of your shortcomings, you'll have someone who can complement.
Fantastic. And minus the money, minus the market, minus entertainment and entrepreneurship, tell me about your other interests. What do you love to collect? How do you engage with yourself? How do you grow? How do you smile, and sources of happiness?
I'm a hardcore movie buff.
Okay.
I love watching movies. I'm a very. I wish I had some experience of theatre.
You've got the good looks. You've got Otto backing you. You should be in the movies.
I wish. I wish. I'm very bad at it. Yeah. But so these are the things. Music, obviously.
If I was to ask you which movie, which character do you represent the closest? Wolf of Wall Street.
It's very easy.
Oh,
it's very easy. Laksh.
Oh, the Hrithik and Laksh. Oh, okay.
For the longest time, Laksh was my favorite movie. Is my favorite movie. The second is Tamasha.
Okay, nice. All right, and tell me 3 things about you we wouldn't know. Whether it's about a skill you have, a talent you possess, something you want to learn.
I can remember songs like anything. and that could be from 1950s to 2025. Yeah, that's the scope of my this thing. Yeah, people used to say that I would rather read books as songs because then I'll be able to memorize. I love it. Second is I'm a very very poor shitty bathroom singer, but I do want to sort of sing or sort of do that. I don't know.
A skill you want to learn?
Playing an instrument for sure.
Yeah.
Playing an instrument.
I'll tell you what, your story, your style has been amazing. But imagine, this is not a bathroom, it's a wonderful set. But imagine, you're on the seat, you're on the hot seat.
No. I will not embarrass myself in front of the camera doing this.
It's been a pleasure, Vivek. When I read up about you, there's this mystery element to all of you. Your story, your ideas, your mindset, there's a mystery. But behind every mystery is a very interesting story. And you've been an amazing hero of your story, impacting lives, impacting our community and the country as well. I get to see a man who has a balance between passion and profits, and a very, very good heart and an amazing vision for our country. It's been an amazing, amazing discussion with you. I was extremely elated to share your style, your story. It's been amazing. Thank you so much, Vivek. Pleasure having you.
Pleasure.
This is Otto, your story, your style with Vivek Kapoor.